reminder that unless it's on the agenda, we will not be able to discuss it at a later time. So, anyone? I see no one, Mr. Wright. I'm going to assume that everybody's had an opportunity to review the minutes. If there is no objection, we'll approve those as presented. Okay. Consent agenda, Mr. White.
Carol, we're going to go over the bill sums. Nice thing is, seems like we just had a board meeting, and there's not a lot of bills on this list.
Beginning on page 7, Amazon is one of the places we get a lot of special instructional supplies, things for special ed, things for buses, technology. It's just runs the whole gamut of things for Amazon there. Page 8 has a lot of the fees and hotels and costs for our traveling that we're doing in the spring. Page 9 has got our payroll for February, 2.7 million is our payroll. Towards the bottom of page 10, sun trends. We did get some benches for high school tennis on that. Just to mention on page 11, Westigo Fuels, February 14th, that was one delivery of 7,147. The atmosphere last month was 11,000. Page 12, infection controls, germ blast did come and make, go to all the campuses for disinfection.
Is that the last one, or do you have one more?
That's the last one for this year. They'll start at the end of the summer, they'll do athletics, usually in July, and then about before school starts, we'll start from around that.
See on page 12, Musico Sports Lighting, that's the first payment of the baseball, softball, tennis lighting project.
Can I have this one last question on cafeteria supplies? I know we're seeing an increase. Do we have any idea what percentage that is?
As far as how the cost has gone up. You know, it's really hard to look at that number and say that, because even though we know the inflation has really hit the grocery, you know, with our increased participation in the program, it's hard to know how much of that is from increased number of meals served and how much of that's inflation. But there is no doubt that we have seen. I don't know if we've got a guess.
I've just got the monthly total.
Didn't know if that was something that maybe.
It's all still covered in the program.
It is all still covered.
So, but now the thing, I will say this, it is all covered. Our reimbursements are much higher than what we're expending, and I think we shared that number with y'all last month. And so that is a good thing. And one of the things that we have found is that reimbursement rate is much better. It continues to go up. So they're trying to adjust it with inflation, so.
And I'll cover that later in my report. We have supplemental bills presented on page 14 and 15. We made a quarterly payment to the appraisal district for their administration costs.
Just an FYI, you know, we didn't pay the retainage on the East Intermediate, and we are continuing to hold that because they still have quite a bit to do, and got a phone call today from CAD Architects, and they said, well, we think we're getting close to our retainage, can we put that on the board meeting tonight? I said, no, we can't put it, we gotta post it in advance, and so I think by April, they'll have.
Well, they have 5 weeks.
Sir?
They have about 5 weeks to get that.
That's true, yes. So they should.
So we get paid.
That's right.
Page 16 is our cash balances in our bank accounts. You'll notice under the line for debt service, we did pay out $3.9 million in February for our bond payments. So that lowered the overall total of the balance in all funds to $17 million. So the drop is basically due to that bond payment that was made.
And I think the total of all the bond payments is $4.8 million.
Right.
And so you can see that already in the bond or debt service that we're building up for that next payment. And we'll continue to get some tax dollars in
June or July is when the next split payment is due in. Page 17 has got the revenue. You can see 5711, the current taxes, we're at 90% collection at the end of February. And just to mention the line 5751, that's parents' payments for lunch charges. We didn't really know what that would be with the free lunches, but they're contributing mightily to that. And then 59, 21, and 22 are the reimbursements that we're getting from the Department of Agriculture. And so that 98% and 83%, we've got 3 more months of collections before the school year ends on those. And on 5931, the Medicaid charge, we did get a large payment in February. They run a couple of years behind. We do a cost report annually, and so this is for the 1920 cost report that we got the deposit for this month.
It was nice.
I have a question on that lunch program.
I thought you
If we have the overage, if we get more, are we required to do something, like the more than what we pay, are we required to do something with that overage because we got it from this program, or you let it carry it over? What do you do with it?
they like you to have a 3 months operating anyway.
Okay.
And you have to remember during the summer months, we'll be paying salaries for those months that were not in operation, so
It should,
it's probably balanced out.
okay.
But I would say in many years past, we have overexpended that line item where we have to make that a general fund. And if, so I can remember, as Carol can, we've had some years, generally when we went up on a price of a meal by quarter or whatever, that year we'd have more funds than we'd use, and then we would ride that along for a couple of years, and that number would get smaller and smaller, and then we would pump it up again. So we're really in an unusual place for us as far as having a fund balance, but they do allow you to carry that up.
Okay, they do.
And like I say, it's dedicated monies just for the child nutrition program, so it can't be spent anywhere else. Page 18 has got the expense report. The overall total percentage for the year went 60%. And you can see the largest proportion of that is finishing off the construction projects that we've got there.
Any other questions for Carol?
Anyone?
Thank you, Carol.
What would y'all like to do? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Thanks, Bill.
All right. Consider order to cancel school board election, Mr. White.
Yes, sir. The education code states that unopposed candidates may be declared elected and eliminate the need for a school board election. So we recommend that we cancel our school board elections if we have no contested races.
No contested races. And how much money is that gonna save us?
You know, the original,
If all entities contribute, it'll be about $6,000 in it, probably a little bit more.
Well, good. Who wants to vote to save $6,000?
I'll move. I'll make a motion to cancel, school board election. Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. All right. Items for information. We're gonna go to Mentors Care presentation, Mr.
yes,
White.
sir. We have Mark Blakely here, who's our local coordinator for the Mentors Care Program, which you remember we talked about during the summer. And we also have Brian Blackwell, who is the he's the big coordinator. He's the big chief. He's the what director? Managing director. He's the big guy that Mark's got to answer up to. So they have offered to give us an update on the program. So Brian, if you would.
Well, thank you guys very much. It is an honor to be in big country. I love it out here. Just to start off with, you need to know, you know this, but your district has a reputation statewide. Spent 29 years in public schools, and when you say Abilene Wylie, it just has a wonderful, wonderful name. So anybody in the community, anybody who's an administrator in this district should know that it's a good place. I remind your students of that every time I come out here. How you like school? You're in one of the best schools in the You are. It's just been a wonderful year for us. I'm going to be presenting about 16 weeks of data, about 4 months worth. We hit the ground running back in the summer, and we had our folks out here recruiting mentors and securing resources. We got Mark hired, and I would say that this is probably the smoothest startup Mentors Care has ever had, and I would attribute that to 3 different things. Number one, I would attribute it to the way that the school itself has embraced the program. It's been a wonderful partnership. Number two, I would attribute it to Mr. Blakely and his hard work. And number 3, I would attribute it to this community, the way that the community has just come together. And that's one of the unique things I think about Abilene that sets it apart from other large cities that has a small town feel, but it's a big city. And when you need something, people are eager to help. But we don't always get that. We work with some schools. It's hard to get snacks. We work in a few districts where we struggle a little bit getting mentors. We certainly don't have the numbers that you guys have. So you're going to get about 16 weeks worth of data tonight. And then for Miss Berry and her team, when she takes over in the summer, we will be presenting them with a full year worth of data with detailed reports. So, Mark, just to remind you guys who we are, we started in 2009 with Dina Petty, our executive director, starting this program at Midlothian High School, and since then it has grown tremendously. And what we basically do is we match at-risk high school students with a caring mentor, and that caring mentor comes in 1 hour a week, 1 class period a week, for 26 weeks. We have a really purposeful and well thought out curriculum. I met with my mentor last Friday at Midlothian High School. He struggles a little, I probably shouldn't say this on camera, but he struggles with authority a little bit. So we had a long talk about respect, because that was the talking point. So each week that the mentors come in, there's a different talking point to cover with students. And so it's very purposeful. In the program has been very successful at following the things that you see here. Some of these are going to be shown to you tonight as far as attendance and things like that, improved credits. We had, it was an assistant principal at Wylie High School come to talk to Mark back a few weeks ago and just let him know that, man, the freshmen have fewer discipline referrals. I'm seeing fewer and fewer of your kids in the office. So we know that the program is working, but it can create a safe place for kids, and gives them that caring adult that many kids need. I know that I need it. These are the schools we currently serve. Most of our schools are in Ellis County, south of Dallas County. We do have one school, now two schools in Dallas County. We serve Advantage Academy, which is a charter school in Grand Prairie. We just got our 10th high school. We got a contract with Life School. Their home office is in Ellis County, but they have a high school in Oak Cliff. We're in talks with Waxahachie ISD and some smaller school districts in Ellis County as well. So we are growing. And we're very thankful for that. We just want to go where we're called. And so kids can qualify for the program one of two ways. To your far left, you see state at-risk indicators, and if a kid's been detained, if they've been to DAEP, if they're homeless, if CPS has been involved, a student can qualify for state at-risk indicators. But Mentors Care also has its own list of at-risk indicators, and we see those in the center and to the far right. The center column is those that can change. We have a high number of our kids in all programs who have anger issues, they struggle with anxiety, depression. We do have some kids who do some self-harm as far as cutting and things like that, and many of our kids just simply are not motivated. It's not uncommon to see those 17-year-old freshmen in our program. We're just trying to get them to graduate. We're trying to give them a pathway for once they get out of high school. And we've even kind of begun to focus on not job placement, but job referrals. So I'll talk about that in a minute. You could go back more, that far right column. Those are unchanging. At-risk indicators for Mentors Care. If students, their parents are divorced, if they've lost a parent, if they have acute trauma, or poverty, or chronic medical impairment, then those are really kind of those things that are unchanging. Most of the state at-risk indicators, once you're retained, if you're retained in kindergarten, you're at risk until your senior year. So those are really unchanging. So kids can qualify through state at-risk indicators, or they can qualify through our indicators. So to kind of show you some data that's unique to Wylie High School, this chart is going to look way different in our other schools. If you take a look at percentage of Mentors Care kids who qualify because of facility placement or CPS or AEP, those numbers will be much higher other places, but here they're very, very low. The majority of the biggest number is going to be your students who fail a core class 2 or more semesters. They qualify as at risk under state at risk indicators. So your kids who qualify under state at risk, most of them are qualifying due to failing classes. Then, if you look at our at risk indicators, it's pretty typical. If you look at other high schools, it's pretty typical. Most of our kids in our program are not involved in extracurricular activities, so we try to steer them toward football or band or something to get involved in so they can create some good memories in high school. A large number of our kids suffer from poor self-esteem and lack of confidence. A lot of them struggle with grades. Other indicators, they're just simply, a lot of our kids just aren't motivated or have behavioral issues. So this chart looks much closer to what you would see at any of our other high schools. As far as unchangeable at-risk indicators, about 78% of the kids who qualify under our at-risk indicators suffer from, they've been in a broken home, they've been through divorce, their parents have split up. That's followed by chronic medical impairment, and that could be something that qualifies them for 504 services. It could be they've been admitted to a treatment facility. It could be something like that. And then finally, death of a parent. We have a pretty high number of kids who have lost parents. If you take a look at just the partners, first of all, that chart, that number 4% of students referred to community supports is much lower here. It's closer to 70% at most of our other schools. We refer a lot to food banks. If a student needs counseling outside of school, we have partnerships with agencies who do counseling on a sliding scale that's based on parent income. So if a parent can't afford to pay anything, they'll get that service at a very, very low to no cost at all. We do a lot as far as providing clothing for our kids, helping them get medical care. We've even paid electrical bills and water bills for our kids who have their water shut off, services like that. But we could not do what we do without the help of our community partners. said, this community has embraced this program in a way that it's just model. I would say it's the model for what we hope to see when we go into a new community. Some communities don't have the resources, some just don't know about us, some don't have the resources, but this community has lots of resources, and I'll point some of those out. We really appreciate Beltway Church, First Baptist Church of Abilene, of course, Dias Air Force Base, Wylie Baptist Church, and then the Junior League. Each of these organizations, and there are others, but these 6 or these 5 were really integral to helping us land here and get on our feet and get the kids the things that they need. So you've got about 4% of your students referred to community supports, as opposed to it's usually much, much higher than that in other high schools.
And I think that number, as we get more entrenched into the school, get to know the kids a little better, I think that is probably one of the last doors that opens as far as what they're willing to share, as far as what's going on at home. So I don't sadly say those numbers are going to change, but I do expect some of those numbers to change.
These numbers are also unique to Wylie High School. We had 102 students referred. We collected 69 permission forms from parents because, as you know, parents have to sign off. So before we will assign that student a mentor. Currently, we have 66 kids in the program at Wylie. It is our largest program out of 9 high schools. We train our coordinators that our caseload is about 50 to 60 kids, and Mark just he kept them coming in, and that's a good thing. That's never a problem. It just we try to train them because of the paperwork, the data collection, just the traffic coming in and out of the office, and the traffic coming to the school. That we try to keep it around 60, but 66 is awesome. I wish we could have 600 of them. But we have about 67 mentors. The program is a little unique here in that it only has 4 seniors, which is pretty normal for a new program. A lot of seniors are hesitant to go into a new program, especially the one they just started. We have usually more seniors than that, which doesn't have us concerned, but we're just thinking ahead for next year. As those freshmen come in, we want to be able to serve every kid that qualifies. And so I know that there'll be some mobility, but Wylie's mobility rate's probably not as high as other districts, and so you probably won't have it. In other schools, we would have 15 to 20% moving out, so that's 15 to 20% more kids. So we will tackle that in the fall. Good news, every one of your seniors is on track to graduate. We had, of our mentors, those 67 mentors, they logged so far through January, October through January, have logged about 528 volunteer hours. And the average hours by volunteer was about 8, and we checked our data, and we have about 75% of scheduled meetings occurring. We'd like to see that go up, but kids are absent. Teachers don't want to leave class because they need to take the speed test. They've been gone for a week, and sometimes the mentors' schedule changes. So we hope to see that number go up. Another awesome part of Mentors Care is that Mark really has become kind of the go-to person on campus for really more than 66 kids, because we have some kids who come by who just want to talk to an adult. And so if you look at the bottom left corner, you had about 50 students that Mark provided emotional support to that aren't even in our program. It's just a safe place to go. When I walked in at 12:40 today, they were in the middle of lunch. It was sea lunch, and the room was full of kids hanging out, talking, building a relationship. It's just a good place to go for lunch, and we appreciate the Wylie High School administration for allowing students to go there during lunch. You had about 35% of your kids that had outcries, and an outcry could be something as severe as, my dad's hurting me. It could be just the fact that, I'm thinking about harming myself. And we want to be that extra layer of support for your kids. And so about 35% had outcries to Mark, and then of those, 27% of students outcried due to anxiety. Kids are dealing with a lot today. As you know, you had about 5% outcrying as far as abuse. And we train our mentors, and Mark knows this as well, that they are mandatory first reporters if abuse or neglect is reported by our students. And then finally, you had about 3% of those that were self-harm. I hadn't thought of harming myself. So we just want to be there for those kids, along with the counselors. Good news as far as earned credits in attendance, 64% of your students maintained or progressed in credits earned. And what we mean when we say that is 64% of your students that are in our program earned at least as many credits as the year before or more. They did not regress, so they grew. Then finally, as far as attendance, I know that you guys want them in school because you can't teach them if they're not in school, and there's funding tied to that, right? We had about 48% of the kids that improved their school attendance, so we're hoping to assist the school in that way as well. I'm a recovering middle school principal, okay? I spent 29 years as a public school educator. I do miss it, so I love talking to kids, so I got my kid fix today. It was great to talk to your students, and when I asked them about Mentor's Care, I probably asked 6 or 8 kids, and every one of them was like, they light up. They're like, oh, how do you like Mentor's Care? Oh, it's awesome, I love it, I love my mentor, I love Mark, or Mr. Blakely, I love the help that it gives me. And so, just some comments, you know, I love how the kids say that, you know, I always have a room to go to and I feel like I'm having a rough day. One student says it's like having a free therapist, although we are not therapists, we are not counselors, but I like that. My favorite one's that top comment. I'm able to talk to my mentor without judgment, and I trust her. And so we train our mentors that they are 3 things. You're a friend, you're a confidant, and you're a role model. But we also train our students that if you say anything about, if you reveal anything that someone's hurting you, you're hurting someone else, or you're going to hurt yourself, then we're going to report that. So it's been an awesome start. I love being a part of this. I love seeing the magic that happens in impacting kids. Our focus has always been helping kids graduate. It's not an issue here. Your kids are going to graduate. Beyond that, we want to help them find a pathway after high school. We want to get them thinking about 2-year school, trade school, 4-year school, military, workforce. And then beyond that, we want, like I said, we want to form partnerships with companies. A year ago, we came out here to present to Region 14, and we listened to the Big Country Manufacturing Alliance talk, and they gave us some ideas. And so in the works now is us forging relationships with employers in this area. We could refer kids to that are hardworking, kids who graduate and will be successful after high school. And so that's in the works. We're just starting to reach out to companies here, and we've got about a dozen, because the guys that I know that own businesses can't find workers. Or if they get workers, they stay for 2 months and then they just don't show up anymore. So we're trying to teach our kids that have that good work ethic. Just to give you a number, I was at Gerdau Ameristeel, a big steel plant in Midlothian. Our kids who go to work there, if they work the overtime that's offered to them, they can make $80,000 to $90,000 a year with a high school diploma. Mr. Smith, that's not for you to go work there.
They don't want old men.
But I mean, there's a bright future out there for our kids, and we just want to help them graduate and then find that pathway and then get them connected with those employers. But the heart of what we do will always be mentoring, that relationship between that caring adult and then that relationship with that coordinator. So any questions you guys have for me?
For me.
So you see more, I guess you have more freshmen in the program right now?
Yeah, it's, because we're at 69, I would say there's 41 freshmen, 12 sophomores, 11 to 12 juniors, and seniors. And we expect, in talking to the freshmen, I said, tell me about the class behind you, and they just rolled their eyes. They said, they're special. We said, they're special. He said, do you think we're special? They're special. So we're looking forward to seeing it.
Historically, if you look at data across the state, freshmen as a group have the highest failure rates, have more discipline problems, and then they start growing up, and that doesn't happen as much. So hopefully, with this information, that number will not be as dire as it could have been. But that's an across the state statistic.
It is.
And getting our hands on them freshman year only makes it better. So we really want to get the freshmen. I went and spoke to the junior high counselors last summer and talked to them about sending you referrals, and the junior high counselors were really instrumental in giving me that base of freshmen to start with.
And we'll be doing that same thing this spring. Mark will be going to the middle schools to help identify students who benefit from the program.
We have brought a guest speaker. We figured, of course, two guys that just love this program and believe in it so much are gonna just give you the numbers that you wanna hear and things that, we can smooth talk a little bit. So we brought Hannah Bates, who is a senior. Come on up, Hannah. She has been with the program since the beginning. She's gonna graduate this year. Yep, you stand right there, and Hannah's just gonna tell you her thoughts on the program. Go ahead, Hannah.
Hi. So, like Mr. Blakely said, I've been part of the program. It wasn't exactly a case of like bad grades or anything. It was, my mom got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer last year, and I mean, that sucked. It was really hard for both me and my little sister to go through, and Mr. Blakely took both of us up into that program, and I mean, it's made a huge impact, not only on me, but on my little sister. I see her, smiling with me. She has sleepovers every weekend now, and she used to not talk to anyone. Mr. Blakely said he'll see her at lunch talking to all her friends, and that makes me want to cry, because she didn't do that before. And before I didn't think that I was going to go to college, because I just wanted to stay in Abilene with my mom for as long as I could. I was just going to go to Cisco or, stay working at Torches until, I had to leave. But Mr. Blakely and my mentor kind of talked me into, just trying. And now I'm hopefully going to go to either Angelo State or, maybe some other colleges. I don't know yet. But they've just kind of pushed me to realize that not everything has to be about, being sad and, yes, this entire situation that my family's in really sucks, and that there's no denying that. But at least when I'm at school, there's like one room where I can go and it's like, it doesn't suck for a little bit, and it's really nice. I'll have freakouts or, some breakdowns sometimes, and a teacher won't quite understand. I know they want to. It's just not in their nature, or maybe it's, the wrong day for them. And I can just ask them to step out, and most of them are completely okay with it. And I can go to Mr. Blakely, and, he has great ways to calm down. He has little fidget toys. He'll give you sour candies if you're having a panic attack, so you can focus on something. It's pretty great, and one of the most prominent things I know is that when I first joined the program, I was kind of hesitant to join, but I kind of opened up about how my mom was going to lose her job, probably, and we were scared about how we were going to pay for groceries because she was the main person who made money for us. My dad doesn't work too much, and Mr. Blakely offered to drive and buy us a whole bunch of groceries and then drop them off at the school, so it looked like I were grocery shopping, so that way I didn't have to worry. And no one's ever done that for me before, especially not an adult. And yeah, this program, it just means a lot to me, and so does Mr. Blakely. So.
Thank you. Your mentor is here.
Yes.
Would you like to introduce them?
Carmen, come on up. This is Carmen Chandler. Now, we didn't prep Carmen for this. And I sent an email out to all the mentors and said, by the way, we're presenting here tonight. And we've got 4 or 5 mentors in the room. And I did not tell them who the student was, and then I sent Carmen an email by herself, and hey, by the way, it's Hannah. So, how's it been, Carmen?
It's been great. It's a little bit overwhelming as a mentor coming in, I'll just say, because it feels like a lot of pressure. Because you really want to help, and most of the time when you do these things, you're obviously doing it because you want to be a positive force and do something good. But it is kind of, you feel a little bit of pressure. But I will say, I got kind of so she's awful great, and we've really become great friends. But on another note, it's been great for her, I hope, and I'm glad that you heard her say that. But it's also good for mentors as well, because we get to create a bond with someone and feel like
principals, all the counselors. It's just been an incredible relationship. They turned a supply room into the mentor's care room with some cubicles, and now they've said, we're gonna move those cubicles out, we're gonna get some more tables and chairs in there, because I've got 69 kids that are part of the program, but during lunch, I'll probably see 30% of those students that are in having lunch are not part of the program. But it's a great time to talk to them. Darla Swanner has been incredible. She quickly says, here are my expectations, here's what I want you to do when a student who's not part of your program has that cry for help, get them to me, or you can start with them, but I want to see them. A great relationship. I walk in with a student to any of the counselors, open arms, incredible, just, they all say the right thing, and they really do care about these kids. It's been a pleasure. I come from the business world. To say that I was going to be doing this a year ago, no way. But it's a special moment that brought me this.
Would you introduce the other mentors who are here, if that's okay with them?
Max Johnson, please stand up. Chelsea Holt, please stand up. Who am I missing? Chris has his youth pastor. Yes, who is great. And then, of course, Mr. Light has his wife, who is a mentor. I put her with the character. She's used to
She's already mentoring someone at home.
Yeah, she's a natural at it. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
Professional.
I don't think I'm missing anybody else. Of course, having Carmen here, but
Karen would echo what Carmen said. She loves it. She loves her young lady, and it's a great relationship, so.
I had a student who needed shoes. I put out a post on Facebook, and that gentleman right there, within a couple hours, had shoes to me. That student cried, gave him those pair of shoes, made it put them on right away. It's amazing the impact these kids, these mentors make. Sometimes, I send out emails sometimes about you don't realize the impact you have. Sometimes they come to me and go, I don't think I'm getting through. And then, of course, they have that moment. And it's not always something you can measure in time, but there's no doubt in my mind that we are making a huge impact.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Be careful traveling home. How do you follow that?
Hey, I would say that, the board presidents cry for pals. This is one way to have adult pals.
Not that easy.
Hey, I think it's both.
I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah. It's both things.
Where's Miss Perry?
She's.
Oh, I just want to talk about that.
Oh.
All right, Mr. Light, principals.
Principals report. Who's up first? Tim's running the other way, so I guess it's there.
Aaron and Here we go.
Speaking of cows, we have a lead class at the junior highs. We started that a couple of years ago, and it's been a great thing. I'll kind of skip down onto the middle there. Our mentor, currently they're mentoring 5th grade classes every Wednesday. I know there's a student that's going into Miss Wylie's class. We started that last year and they love it. The teachers love it. They go and read. They do reading buddies with the Read 180 class. They're working on a picture book of leadership qualities to share with the West Elementary classes. And we reached out to Miss Besson about coming to her campus later in May to talk to their students about the leadership qualities. They're painting the walls and working on painting the walls in our building 2. Working on kind of a beautification project. So they're doing a lot of things for our campus, but one of the biggest things that I see is those students going and working with those their 8th graders going to work with those 5th graders on Wednesday. It's just awesome. And to see the kids read to those dyslexic kids and the ones that are in Read 180, it's just, and some of those actual kids that are in lead class were in dyslexic classes, so they relate to them. And it's just a great opportunity and moment. Student, I'll jump back up to the top, our student count. Last time I talked to you in January, I said we're knocking on the door of 900. We passed it. In January, we had 894. We now have 903. I looked back at my last 2 years around this time. We're up 38 students from last year and 67 from 2 years ago. So we're growing at Wylie West Junior High. Our attendance, 96% overall, so doing pretty good there. Academically, we just finished up benchmarks, star mark. We run those benchmarks like an actual star test, so we can kind of work the kinks out of that. So we'll be ready for star in May. We gain a lot of data to drive instructions with those benchmarks. We actually had the spelling bee winner for the region, came from Wylie West Junior High. That was Tessa Jones, and she's going to be moving on to the national spelling bee in Washington, D.C. So we're excited to see her do that. Something, sir? Something I'm really excited about. Since I became principal a couple years ago, we've been talking about doing a college career readiness for our students. We did a lot of career day stuff, but we've been talking about taking our 8th graders to college. We haven't been able to do that because COVID's kind of put a damper on everything, but this year we're doing it. We're going to go on Thursday, the 10th. We're going to take our 8th grade students. They got to choose a college of their choice. Of course, we couldn't accommodate everyone, so they had to choose 3 different choices. And so we're taking 245 students. We're going to 4 different colleges. They either get to go to ACU, McMurray, Hardin-Simmons, or TSTC. We're going to visit those in the morning. Those colleges have been awesome. A couple of those colleges are actually feeding our kids. A couple of the other colleges, we're going to have to pay a little bit of lunch. We're going to eat on campus. We're going to do all the campus stuff there at college. And then we're going to load up buses and go to the high school in the afternoon. At 1 o'clock, we plan to be at the PAC, and Ms. Swanner and the counselor are going to talk to them about moving up to the high school and their choices for high school next year and get all that going. So we're really excited about college career readiness for our 8th graders and getting them going with that. Let's see what else we have here. Interpersonal studies. That's the build class we created I guess it's been about 4 or 5 years ago. Something that we changed the name of, but it's really, really good to that leadership qualities for our students. Currently, they're talking about college research projects, and they made banners for junior high colleges and trade schools, and they're going over the career cluster, public safety. So coming up, they're going to have some speakers. We have a game warden coming. He's actually the Jim Ned, or the county game warden that's out in Jim Ned, going to come talk to us. Police officers, firefighters, fire inspectors. So we got some good stuff going on in those classes. Kindness Club we have on campus is ran by Ms. Barham. She does a great job with that. We're currently doing a kindness challenge. Right now they're writing thank you notes to their teachers and putting them in a box, and we're sharing those with teachers. And then the next challenge is going to be clean up around the school, by doing things without being asked, kind of challenging students to do the right thing. We always talk about below impact. I'll skip down. Extracurricular activities, investigative math and science qualified. Actually, it's now 23, I think. The East hosted a tournament, or qualifying tournament over the weekend, and we now have 23 students, I think, that are qualified for state. We had our first ever swim meet. That was pretty awesome. I didn't go, but Mr. LaFrance went. His daughter's actually on the swim team. It was in Pecos, Texas. I've seen pictures and videos, and it was just awesome to see those kids be a part of that. And the track's hitting. I think the East just hosted a track meet here. Our kids went to San Angelo. We had theater, one night play. It's actually performing tonight, to the public performance. And the UL choir is hitting. Also band, I missed there. And then student council is currently doing a project called Good Deeds, and they're working on some good deed things through that. And our 8th grade, I looked this out, our 8th grade RLA classes went to the high school this past, or just our advanced English language arts classes went to the high school to watch a Midsummer Night's Dream that Mr. Shoemake's class put on, because they're reading that book, and so it was a good little time to kind of interact and go to high school and have them put that performance on. So that's Wylie West Junior High in a little nutshell. Any questions? You're welcome. Appreciate you. We're doing a lot of the same things.
We are. We are. It's okay. Hey, how are you guys tonight? Good to see see everybody. Hey, we're at 713 students currently. Just to get through some of this stuff, our 6 weeks is up and running. We just benchmark tested as well. The ice kind of got us for a couple of days, and so we had some shifts in our calendar, but all of our benchmarks were finished. The teachers have analyzed their data, and that will kind of drive their instruction for these last 7 or 8 weeks before testing begins. You can see our attendance on there. It's just a tick under 96%, and that's where we are. Hey, we are continuing with our Acts of Kindness Club. We're up to over 450 students who have been recognized for committing an act of kindness on campus. When we first started talking about this in the summer, we thought, wouldn't it be cool if we got to 500? Like, we were just dreaming. In my office, me and Miss Kristen were talking about it. Wouldn't it be great if we got to 500? Well, we're over 450, and we've got a big stretch of the year left, and so I think that's been quite a success. Like Mr. Amonett said, we did host at the west or at the east TMSCA meet on Saturday. Quite a few teams were there. I think we're 25, 26 kids now that have qualified for state, which is super exciting. Ms. Grimlin and Ms. Nunn do a great job with our TMSCA. We also have NAT counts going at the east side, and we have 4 students that have qualified to go to state in that as well. And again, that's Ms. Nunn and Ms. Grimlin who take care of that. So really some awesome stuff. Our lead groups, just to touch on lead for a minute, Mr. King, we have 20 kids in our lead class. Hey, I think it's on Wednesdays, I know it's one day a week, our lead class and 5th grade lunch are scheduled at the same time. Whoever did match schedule really did a good job to make sure they matched up. And so our kids, they come to lunch. The 8th grade lead kids come into the cafeteria and they eat lunch with the 5th graders, and they all have a buddy. But when they're sitting at the table, they're having an impact on more than just their buddy, because they're sitting there with their friends. And so that's really a kind of a neat thing to watch, like Mr. Amonett said, to watch those 8th graders mentor those 5th graders. It's a really cool thing. We did host a track meet on Saturday, right down here at Q Sanford Stadium. I'm so glad that we did it on Saturday and not Sunday or today, because it was really nice on Saturday. Our 7th grade boys won the track meet. That's the first time in our 3 years, and we didn't really have much track that first year. COVID kind of got us, but it's the first time we won a track meet. One of our teams, we won the track meet, and so we're pretty excited. Hey, all of our mile relays were phenomenal. You know, it always comes down to the mile relay, and you hope you've got 4 kids that can run the quarter, and we won 3 of the 4 mile relays. I think our 8th grade boys came in second, both girls, and our 7th grade boys, they won the mile relay. The kids that run the mile relay, I mean, they gut check it. And you got to bring it. And it was just so awesome to watch those kids perform. We have an 8th grader, Kiera Robinson, who is going to be a phenomenal hurdler when she gets to high school. She won the 100 and the 300 hurdles. And I just mentioned her because I was watching her and just going, wow, I had no idea she was so good as a hurdler. We did go to the St. Pecos swim meet, and we had 2 kids that medaled. I think our teams finished 4th and 5th. I think the girls were 4th, the boys were 5th. 2 kids finished in the top 3, so the first ever swim medals at Wylie Junior High, so that was a really big deal. Our one-act play is performing tonight for the public as well, Little Women. They had their UIL competition last week. We had multiple all-star cast members, and A.D. Ferries was the best overall outstanding performer. And if you know the play Little Women or the book Little Women, Jo, who is the writer, and sister that's the writer, that was the part she played, and it was pretty phenomenal to watch that. Our 8th graders, they went to Men's Summer Night Stream as well. You heard about that a little bit already. We piggybacked, and Mr. Amonett, this is his deal, or one of his counselor's deals, I think, the college day, but we piggybacked that on as well. We're not going to all 4. We split our group into 2 groups. One group's going to ACU, one's going to TSTC, and then they're flipping. And so they're going to see 2 colleges, but I think the kids are excited. I think the teachers are more excited than the kids. I think they can get to college. This is great. And so they're super excited about that. Our T-test evaluations were almost finished. I only have 1 more teacher to evaluate, and I believe between my 2 assistants, there's 1 that they haven't done yet. So of the 31 teachers that are being formally evaluated, only 2 remain, and so we're excited to get that completed. And just real quick on T-test, hey, the pre and post conferences that we have with our students or with our teachers, hey, it's the best teacher evaluation that we've ever had. I mean, it's the best. I've been doing this a long time. I've been principal 22 years, and T-test is by far the best tool that we've ever had. So excited about that. The last thing I'm going to share with you tonight, a couple of years ago, hey, February is kind of a tough month for teachers. It's just tough. You know, Christmas is over, the New Year has worn off, and something about February. And some people call it February. And so a couple of years ago, I had an idea. Hey, we need to somehow get the morale going again. And so we started something that I call My Awesome Colleagues. And the way that works is we ask each teacher, we assign them 5 of their colleagues, and they write these awesome comments about them. And then over the course of the last 14 days of the month, I send them out about 20 to 25 of those at a time go out. And so for 14 straight days, you get an email with all this awesome stuff. You might be on there one day, you might not be, but you're going to be on there at least 5 times. And here are some of the things that they said about each other. You ready for this? Miss Enderlin is the most passionate teacher I've ever worked with. She doesn't see 504 SPED or any other label as an excuse to lower standards for kids. She puts 100% effort into making math accessible to each student. Coach Wright is a refreshingly honest and bold teacher. She looks for exciting ways to make learning fun for her students, and I admire the fact that she desires to motivate every student who walks through her doors to be the best version of himself or herself. Coach Wright also possesses a very serene demeanor, which is super refreshing in this crazy, chaotic world. Ms. McElroy is all about kids all the time. Her love for students is a daily motivator to offer the best education she can in her content area and to also walk alongside her students as they navigate middle school life. She will never be satisfied by the "it's always been done this way" mentality and consistently pushes those around her to seek growth. Ms. Rodriguez may be new to our campus, but she is not new to excellence and best as the standard. She goes out of her way to ensure her students not only enjoy math, but truly believe they are capable of success. Her commitment to bringing her A game challenges all around her to rise up. Wylie East Junior High is a good place with her on our team. And the last one, just a few lines of writing really is not enough to show how amazing Allison South is. She is kind and compassionate while also fierce and fiery. She loves you from the moment she meets you and is always there when you need to be encouraged or lifted. I pray that everyone has an Allison South in their life. Hey, so about 400 or so of those, the teachers wrote about each other, and then they got to read them for about 3 weeks, and it was pretty awesome. So, hey, thanks to y'all for letting us do what we do, and good talking.
Thanks for doing this.
Mr. Smith.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
You look a little more lively now than you used to.
You know what, a few minutes ago, Mr. Amonett talked about having 900 students on his campus. If I remember correctly, I believe the first year we were assistant principals together at the high school, we just cracked 900. And that was 9 years ago. And you can see on my board report, our enrollment as of right now is 1,350. And so you can see the steady growth we've had over the last 9 years. But then Colin, talk about him for a second. We're talking about some individual achievements here to start with. Nathan has been selected as a finalist in the National Merit Scholar Program. And Nathan's also just been killing it in UIL, as he always has. He placed first in number sense at the Red Raider Classic. Invitational on January 15th, received a $500 scholarship that can be used at Texas Tech. Daniel Duke at the same meet also placed first in social studies. He received a $300 scholarship. Olivia Pugh has been selected to participate in the spring 2022 Francis Hesselbein Student Leadership Program, and that's held at the United States Air Force Academy. And so those are just some great accomplishments. Some activities that will be coming up we'll be hosting the UIL Academic Meet on Friday, March 25th. We're very excited about that. We've been doing just really well. We have a rich tradition in UIL. When we went to 5A, there was this, a little bit of naysay. I don't know, what are you doing in 5A? Well, we just about doubled everybody's points in the previous years, so we hope to keep that going. Our District 1 athletic competition will be in Snyder this coming Thursday. And so we're looking forward to that. And we advanced the state last year. We have big aspirations, some great kids and great directors. Case Kirby and Timothy Sturdivant These two AV students advanced to the UIL State Short Film Festival with their film called The Voices. I don't know if any of you have seen that. If you haven't, I think you can see it on YouTube. Search The Voices on YouTube. Case Kirby Timothy's film finished 4th in the state, and it starred Mason Kirby, who's also Mason's real big in One Act Play as well, always one of the leading roles. So they did a phenomenal job. I recommend everybody watch that. On February 17th and March 17th is Youth Art Month. Many of our art students have works, their work displayed at the Grace Museum. That's phenomenal. I'm always blown away with the pencil drawings, the self-portraits they do it's incredible. Looks like they took a photo and just turned it black and white. The Visual Arts Scholastic Event, VASE. No, they don't just make vases, okay? That's an acronym, all right? You got that?
I got it.
Okay.
I
I remember 15 years ago when my first vase, where are all the vases, you know? But we have 90 students who have advanced to the state competition. Ireland Kelly, Jason Smith, Emily Wilhott, Annabella Fletcher, Layla Romero, Rachel Sorensen, Jocelyn Power, Carly Hale, Hannah Nabilski, all have advanced to the state round competition, and that's the most, according to my art teachers, that we've ever had to go to state. So they were very pleased. Our Amonett, when you walked in, hopefully you saw the trailer out there that they've worked on all year. You know, they do that from scratch, from ground zero. And so to see the final product out there, what those kids can do is phenomenal. The Wylie FFA Amonett team was also very successful at the San Antonio Livestock Show. The team of Riley Bilbrey, Larissa Taylor constructed a 94-gallon offset smoker for the competition, received a blue ribbon. Michael Calvert and Jonathan Pierce also competed with their 94-gallon offset smoker and received a blue ribbon. Gavin Fox and Eli Roper constructed a Santa Maria grill for the Amonett Marketplace. These two individuals had to market their Santa Maria by presenting a sales pitch to possible buyers during the show. And they have judges that come around doing these shows, and you don't know who the judges are. So everybody that comes up, they have to go through the whole presentation. They do that all day long. And Richard Cumber, he went to this Amonett show, and his first Amonett show he ever attended. I told him he's done stock shows all his life. I said, you wait till you get that Amonett show. It's going to blow you away. And he wasn't there long, and I was getting all sorts of pictures sent to him. He came back. He said, man, that is phenomenal. It's unbelievable what those kids could do. Anyway, continuing on, they also had to take an ag sales exam based on their knowledge of the industry. The Santa Maria team received 6th place out of 22 teams. And in the silent auction, it was valued at $22.50, but because of the presentations and so forth, they received $3,500 for that grill. In some athletics, our girls basketball team made the playoffs with a 3rd place finish, and they lost to Canyon Wrangell in the 1st round. And the boys basketball team made the playoffs as well as the 2nd place team, and lost to Tascola in the 1st round. So very admirable seasons for those kiddos. Regional powerlifting, we had 10 girls to qualify for regional. You know, it's still a brand new program for us. And out of the 10 girls that qualified for regional, we had 3 that qualified for state. And those 3 were Bradley Ross, Marissa Marchetto, and Jaslyn Londeros. And we had 18 boys to qualify for regional. And regional is going to be held on March the 8th. And so that's coming up real quick. Now in progress, we have spring tennis going on, baseball, softball, track, all the things.
They're real quick, like
Tomorrow.
They're weighing in tonight.
Congratulations to Amonett Luke. Amonett had a hole-in-one at a tournament at San Angelo Country Club on Friday, February the 11th. You know, supposedly that's a big deal. I get hole-in-one pretty often because I mean that windmill comes around. You know, so. But anyway, that's kind of some of the highlights in a nutshell. So, thank you very much.
Good job. We don't let them talk very much, so therefore when they get in front of you all, I did want to tell Mr.
Goofenough and Mr. Amonett. You know, Brian talked about being a recovering junior high principal. Look what it's done for Mr. Vaughn and me. Y'all got a lot to look forward to.
No, there's.
I know. That one fell short.
Oh, the rough crowd. Can we move on, Mr. Keenum? I'm dying here. The crowd.
Before we leave, I will speak for everybody up here, but it's remarkable what our kids do. I know that's a reflection of what our staff does. We're doing lots of great things, and our kids are being blessed, and our community's being blessed. And it's good to know that our district is at the heart of all of that. So thank you guys so very much for what you do. COVID, Mr. White.
Yes, sir. You know, we've been seeing a real positive trend across the country, county, and in our district. We've been at one student, no staff have had COVID for a while. Today, I think actually we got to 2. So it's been a good trend, and we can continue to ride that. I would dare say that we may not need to do the COVID-19 updates for a while. So.
Anybody have any questions? Anybody got that? Construction.
Yes, sir. Of course, we just really got one thing going on right now. That's with our lights on our softball, baseball, and tennis facilities. And you know, every time I talk to y'all, it seems like I give you a deadline or a point that they're going to have the lights up, and they keep missing that. They did have the tennis lights up this weekend, and now supposedly tomorrow they should have the rest of them up. And there was some parts that were coming in that were back ordered that are going to be in tomorrow as well, and they should be functional by Friday.
That's when you say they, you talk about all.
Musco, and all of them. You know, it was real funny. I shared with y'all many times. I shared with them. We would go softball, baseball, and tennis. Well, we got the tennis up first. So they don't pay any attention to me either. So,
But the tennis lights are functional.
the tennis lights are not functional because they're missing a part,
No.
but they're up.
I'm supposed to have everything done and ready to go Friday.
That's correct.
Flip the switch Friday?
We'll see.
Well, I don't know if it's a record, but we're about to go into executive session. So y'all have to go. Thank you. Go back to